Going live, guys. Everybody heard Billy say we're going live? Remind Greg Nicholson when he comes through today. We're going live, Greg.
All right, thank you.
I agree with you, bro.
Thank you.
Thought he was your friend, did he? No, let's not do that. Send me back and take it.
All right, go ahead and call our November 4th, 2021 Lancaster County Fire Commission meeting to order. Ask Darren to ask invocation, please.
Father, we thank you for the food that we just took part in. Lord, we ask that you use it to the nourishment of our bodies and rest of your service. We ask, Lord, for your wisdom as we discuss the business of the county and the fire service. And Lord, we ask that you keep us all safe in our day-to-day duties. Say all this we ask in Christ's holy and precious name. Amen.
All right. Everybody should have gotten a copy of the agenda in your packet as well as via email to have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion. Thanks.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any visitors' comments? And again, in your package, you should have received your minutes from the October 7th meeting. Have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed?
Chairman, if we can stop right there just for 1 second. Traditionally, we've tried to mail the package on Fridays. We are now having trouble on occasion with people getting it by the time of the meeting. The U.S. Mail has notified everybody that uses it that they're going to be slower delivering first-class mail. We send these first-class. My recommendation to you would be that we back that up and start mailing them on Wednesday, which means the agenda cutoff would basically be on Monday of the week before the meeting, which is sort of what county council does. They're not quite that far, but that way we can mail them. What we've been doing for a long time is Kershaw and East Springs. I would mail from my house because I'm an East Springs route, so that they would get theirs. And we didn't have any trouble with Lancaster ones now, but now we're having a few with the Lancaster ones that aren't getting their agendas packages by the time of the meeting. So now it's sent out online, and I understand that, but unless somebody has a real problem with it, I think we'll start trying to mail them on Wednesday. That's a couple days back, and hopefully everybody will do that morning.
Would it help for people that don't really need it mailed to them? We can get it, I mean, they email it to us, I can print it off as easy as y'all can mail it. Would it not save money by doing that?
It would, if you tell us you want it that way and let Donna know, we can do that. If the next fellow from you, in your section may not want to do that, but if that's the way you want it or any commissioner wants it that way, we can do that. Saves about anywhere from 95 cents to $2 or $3, depending on how big the package is.
Well, I mean, and then I can print the packages out and have them here if they don't know.
You have your hard copy when you get here.
If you want her to email them to you, just shoot her an email and let her know that you want them emailed.
And then I won't mail them.
Well, she does email them anyway, and that's the only way
Yeah,
you
the
want,
only
she
way,
needs to know
yeah.
that, and we won't do an envelope for you.
Yeah.
We'll just have you a copy. when
or
we
tell
get
her
it.
tonight as well before you leave, if that's what you wanna do. Grant update?
Nothing to report on grants, particularly other than I think the firefighter assistance grant opens next week and closes, I think, the 15th of December. So, anybody interested in trying to apply for one of those grants, you need to get things moving on that. Monday, I think.
Training report?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, just taking a look, going through the, report. Donna greatly appreciates everybody using the FDID number 29301, and it's working greatly. She can just pay for everything with one click now, so she did that today, and we paid for how many invoices? 28 invoices by one click, so, thank you for your members for doing that. It is actually working, so, please keep them going. January to June of next year, the training classes are in your packet. I understand that they are not on the portal yet, so I'm going to talk to JD tomorrow about getting them on the portal, so that way he can go ahead and, your members go ahead and start signing up for classes. You notice the first one, please let your members know the first one is that fire and life safety educator. That is a month cutoff, all right? Not 2 weeks, that's a month, that's 4 week cutoff, so please let them know about that as well. High school program, 8 seniors, 12 juniors. Seniors just started firefighter 1. Juniors are in hazmat hazmat awareness right now. Still fighting the COVID and the quarantine and stuff like that. So we're gonna play that battle for a while, I guess. Rescue, upcoming training. Please look at that calendar. I gave a calendar to the training officers last month in October. So I'll get Donna to email one out to everyone in the fire service as well. March 29th, go ahead and mark this on your calendars. March 29th, that is a Tuesday. That's going to be a multi-rescue event exercise throughout the county. We're going to start out in the afternoon and go well into the night, and it's going to include everything from missing person to swift water events to high angle to extrication. And we're going to include everybody in the county. So if your members are trained to a level, they can participate in this exercise, right? Just need to know who's coming, so please fill out a county registration form for that. We're going to include dispatchers with this, and with that, when I say dispatchers is, that way they can kind of get a general familiarization of what assets do we actually have in our county. So where they're at and actually how we operate. Talked with Robert Purser personally, and he's very excited for that opportunity as well. So March 29th, that's a Tuesday. IST, still the same makeup days for that. Officer training, got a lot of success from your members signing up for this as well in the county, and it's going towards their curriculum as well, their transcript. So keep them signing up for that. And I just put a few in your packet that is most upcoming for that as well. And lastly, Lancaster County, we're going to be hosting a squad school in-county kind of squad school event. That is going to be in the spring of 2022, and we're going to schedule out to be announced of a date. It's going to be a weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 events or 4 stations, and 2 of them is going to be it's going to be all rescue, and it's going to be 2 per day. So that way, you go half a day at one station, eat lunch, rotate to your next station. All right, and that is the time frame for that is to be determined once we figure out a date for that. All right. Any questions, Carol?
Any questions for Britt? All right, thank you. And just so everybody know, we've got Perry Clanton and Chris Madden taking place online as well tonight. Online with Zoom. Maintenance report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I passed out the reports from this month from the firehouse report and the 1441's back in service. I got the equipment put stuff back on, I let them put it back in service once they got the equipment off back on it.
The only thing left to do from the repair from the accident is put the stripe on the side of the truck. The vendor for the striping is out of town. He got out of town right when we picked it up from the body shop. But ladders have been tested, but it missed the ladder testing. They were tested yesterday, right? Yesterday. Everything's good there, no problem, so, it's back in service. 1421, is being reassembled from the damage to the front of it. It should be back, hopefully, early next week, I'm hoping. Get it back, and then all the trucks will be back in service. Soon, 622 will need to go out of service due to some problems with the tank again, and some stuff shifting up under the tank, between the tank and the frame. We're gonna take it out of service and now have the spare tanker eligible during that process. Algae problems, we're fighting algae problems. 131, we fought with algae problems for about 2 months, so we finally nailed down what was going on. It was a combination of algae and a fuel sending unit that was false reading into the cab. The truck was showing a little over 3/4, and I think we pumped off 10 gallons. And there was only 5 gallons or about 4 gallons of that usable, which was slammed full of sludge. So, that truck's been cleaned. I know a bunch of y'all heard stuff on the radio in the last couple of months about 131 out of service, 131's stuck on the side of the road, things of that nature. That problem has been resolved. We know what caused it, and it has, fuel system has completely been cleaned on that truck, and it's back up and going. Ladders that were, failed the ladder test, the ground ladders, all but one of them has been repaired. All but 2 has been repaired. One 20, is it 28 Greg or 24 extension? 28 extension at Pleasant Valley, that was on 1421, and a roof ladder on 1702. Right, 1702. It's gonna have to be replaced. They won't be able to be repaired. Just as soon as I get that replaced, I'll have the information back to you. It'll be coming out of special projects to replace that, because that's not something that just can come out of equipment maintenance. That's a pricey piece of repair. Other than that, I think that was all. I done gave you all the updates on the pump test and everything. Any questions on maintenance?
Budget detail account inquiry.
Mr. Chairman, you've got copies of both the 141 budget, which is the fire commission budget, and the 144 budget, which is the career fire service budget. The percentages are running where they need to be. Remember, this budget that you have a copy of was through the end of September. We're always a month behind, so October expenditures have already been done, and so we'll be getting that within a few days. But a lot of stations have turned in their equipment orders. Remember, I reminded you last month, when I was on by Zoom, to make sure you get those orders turned in as quick as you can, because there is a long lag time between when we order and when we're getting equipment, particularly turnout gear and some of the other things that have to do, if they're not manufactured here in the United States, we're having a real problem getting things. So the pickup trucks have been ordered. We did order them from Burns Forward. They don't show in this particular budget. Well, actually, they do 11/7. But they've been ordered, and they're still telling us it'll probably be April, May, or June before we get the trucks. We did order 4 of those. The brush truck we didn't get last year, we ordered again. And as I said, we did it from Burns Forward. The brush truck for this year, and then the 2 trucks for the 2 new positions that we got. All 4 of them ordered at the same time. Everything else, I think, is as it would need to be. If you've got a question about anything, I'll try to get you an answer. If I don't have to give it tonight, if you've got any questions.
Any questions for Darren?
I am a little concerned about fuel this year. Fuel, you'll notice our budget didn't change hardly any, because it had been set at a previous level when fuel got high. And so we maintained it, well, fuel is now getting back into that same range again. Now, percentage-wise, we're about where we need to be for this time of the year, based on what they project. But if fuel continues to increase in cost, we may end up in trouble before the end of the year. So just be mindful of that.
Moving on to action items, discussion concerning the fire fee district establishment process. We had some questions from one or two departments, and then a couple more that have been inquiring about it. So we thought it'd be best if we just gave a report tonight, and then staff's gonna type up something, we'll get it out to the chiefs and to the members, so that in case you miss something tonight, we'll take your notes or whatever. But give Darren, he's gonna give us a little report on this process.
Part of this will be how you want to handle a few things, but there's some things that I recommend to you that will, I think, make the process a little bit smoother, rather than, some people contacting me and asking me to do things for them, which I try to do. Some are contacting council members, some are contacting individual department heads. You can do that, and you may or may not get an answer. If you go through here and let me try to be the point of contact, I can make sure that we're getting what we need and get it in a timely manner, hopefully. So the first thing is you, as a station, you would need to email me that you have the intent to go for the fee district. And that'll start the process rolling, because what I'll do at that point is request information from the assessor as to, if you're using the $90 fee, what would that bring in based on the property assessment in your fire district. Depending on what they've got going on, determines how quickly they do that. Now, right now, they're sending out tax notices. Most of y'all probably got your tax notice this week. So that's about finished up, so they'd be able to move pretty quickly. The other thing is that once you get that amount of money, and you as a station discuss what you want to try to accomplish with it, because there's a number of different things that stations have talked to us about in here. Some want to try to put people in their station. Most of us will not get enough money out of a $90 fee on the existing property in our districts to pay for more than one person, or maybe at most two people. And even that would be a 5-day-a-week thing. It would not be a 24-hour shift type setup. And it would allow you nothing for backfill, meaning if that person took it, they will be a county employee, they would get the benefits of vacation and sick time. If they were out, you wouldn't have anything to pay them with. When you do the fee, it is a pot of money that's used to pay for whatever that fee was designed to pay for. So you need to be aware of that. Indian Land and Pleasant Valley have a lot of property in those districts, and they're growing on a constant basis. The rest of us don't have that benefit. Now, it is beginning to move down that panhandle. Riverside and Shiloh Zion are going to begin to see benefits. Van White is going to begin to see benefits. But that'll also tie back to how their town council allows growth within their area, because a lot of their area in Van White is part of the town, in the town limits. But the district would be the entire fire district. The other thing is that if you want to build buildings, the fee district money is bankable, meaning that if you don't spend it, it rolls. If we don't spend the money in our budget, it rolls back into the county ordinary. We don't get to keep it. But Pleasant Valley and Indian Land, if they don't spend their money, it stays in their operating fund. It is still designated for them. So a fee district anywhere else in the county would work the same way. The money would be bankable if you decided you wanted to do a building. But depending on what you get, will determine how many years you got to bank it up in order to be able to build a building. Or if you were to float a bond, as Pleasant Valley did initially with theirs, how much you'd be able to pay in an annual year, that would determine the amount of the bond that you could borrow against. But y'all do, Greg, 20 years when you did your bond?
Yes, sir.
So,
And just be mindful, if you do that, you have to keep 1.5 times that building payment in your savings at all times.
okay.
To back.
So there's a lot of things that limit what you're able to do. If you build a building, just the bay for fire trucks is one thing, but if you want to plan to put people in there, that building has to be sprinkler protected, because the code requires anything with 24-hour occupation, meaning somebody's going to be sleeping in that building, it has to be sprinkler protected. Everybody says city of Lancaster's not, but they were grandfathered. They already had their buildings built, and they were already sleeping people before that code went into effect. So they've got a grandfather, but that's the only place in the county. The only other place in the county, other than Pleasant Valley and Indian Land, that I know of, I think, Jonathan, is your station at East Springs. You would be able to sleep people in there. That shovel-ready grant provided sprinkler protection for that building. So other than that, I don't know of a building in the county that has sprinkler protection. Nor have we been sleeping anybody there, so we don't have any grandfather clauses we can go after either. All right, the other thing is that once you decide what you want to try to do with the amount of money that you've got to do it with, I think it would be a good idea for you to bring it back here to this fire commission, to get the fire commission to give support, approve of the process. It's part of the planning for the commission as it goes forward. And I think that would carry weight with county council. That's what I meant a while ago when I said part of this is you all need to make a decision. If you don't want to do that, then you don't do it. But I think personally that would help it have a little bit more credence as it goes to council. Because it's not just the individual fire department saying they want to do this. The fire commission has looked at it and said, we think this is a good plan for the county and the citizens of that district. If the fire commission supports it, then I, as the director, would forward that on through the county administrator to council for action. Council can make one of two decisions. They can decide they want to do it as a referendum vote, which they've done in every occasion so far. Or they can go ahead and implement the fee district with their own authority. As I said, they haven't chosen to do that yet. They've always asked for the referendum. Well, if you do the referendum and you do it off cycle, meaning a special election, you got to come up with a cost of that. That can cost, what, $3,000 to $5,000, I think, what that would cost y'all? At Pleasant Valley. Well, it might have been for your district, depending on how many voters are there and what has to be done. So the best thing to do is try to stay within the standard cycle of elections. Van Wyck just overwhelmingly got approved for theirs in this election that was held on Tuesday. And because it was during the normal election cycle, I don't think they charged y'all for that, did they, Mark? Okay. It was part of the regular election cycle. The town was having elections, so the polls were already open. That's where the cost comes, having the poll managers and how many polls they have to open and what has to go on logistically there for them. So this was 21. 22 will be the next general election. Those stations that know what they want to do well enough and get everything processed could ask council to have referenda out there for them for the 22 election in November. If you don't do it in 22, 23 would not be necessarily a good year because unless you were in a district that has a town in it, you probably won't have any elections in that area, in which case you would be having polls open just for that referendum. And council may want to get paid to do that, or the election commission actually is the one that asked for that. County council does not direct the election commission. They have their own board. They operate within the county building, of course, but council does not have authority over the election commission. So 24 would be the next opportunity that there would be an election held, that there would be precincts. Every precinct in this county will be open in 24. That's the next presidential election. So in the even years, you have all the polls open. So in 22, they'll all be open. In 24, they'll all be open. In 23, they won't. It'll just be town elections, municipal elections. So that's something that needs to be considered. There's nothing that says you have to do this in a year. If you don't think you're ready, then you're not ready. If you think you are ready, then we need to get things moving pretty well. The ballots have to be able to be sent to Columbia from this county. I think it's the first week of August. So that's the deadline that you're working on to make sure if you're going to get a referendum. County council would have to make that decision earlier in the year, of course, in order to allow that to happen. Once that gets to their level, meaning county council, it is up to them at that point as to how things progress. In a nutshell, that's how it works, and that's how we need to proceed with it, based on if you decide you think the commission needs to have input and vote to approve and support these things as it comes down. Several years ago, about every department in the county said they were interested, and the commission sent word to council that it was in support of doing the research to do. And that's how a lot of you came up with numbers that you've been looking at. You gotta figure, whatever you're gonna pay a firefighter, add about 52% or just a hair over that, depending on where the retirement rates go, is what it costs you to pay that firefighter. For instance, if you're gonna pay them $40,000, I think it's about $62,500 to pay an individual $40,000. So you can see, most everybody's coming in around the $150,000 range with what they're able to take in. That's barely 2 people. And it would not be any overtime, and it would not give you any backfill. So that's why I say for most of us, and when I say that, I'm a member of Belltown, for most of us, it won't accomplish a whole lot other than it will allow you to bank some money to build a building. Or if you get enough in an annual installment, and with the extra that Greg was talking about, the county might be willing to float a bond to build you a building. A standard substation building, built the way it needs to be with the bays, is probably somewhere in the $3.5 million range. Is that what you're seeing, Greg?
It's probably will hopefully get down to that. Right now, it's about 4.5.
If you tried to go with a, if you tried to, building
How
cost,
big is substation?
13,000 square foot, 3 bay.
Oh, ain't what we think about a substation.
I mean, if you go put
well,
living quarters, showers, kitchen, day room, weight room,
Mark,
office.
I took Ken Newell's study format to give to council numbers for them to do with their strategic plan. And I think about the smallest thing we could come up with was 10,000 square feet, and it's in the $3.5 million estimated range, based on the price per square foot currently for building commercial. So, that's a substation. If you're looking for a main station, you're probably looking somewhere in the $6 to $7 million range. So it is not cheap.
Way too high to me.
Bid on it. Believe me, I'm getting prices right now. And the last price I got was for the building. It depends on, if you're looking at usable space is about 11,000 square foot, but they charge you for the width of the walls and all that, so the gross square footage goes about 1,000 square foot more than that. And then you got to click in your mezzanines and stuff like that. They charge you for all that. And the last one I got was $4.8 million.
But
He
that's
said it's
for
coming down.
block and brick and everything?
That's a metal building just like we got, like we have now with brick on the outside and block on the bay. You have to, but you have to have the fire rating on the block that separates the apparatus to the living quarters. It's a lot. You get into building fire stations, you're gonna put sleeping quarters in, it gets expensive. Very expensive.
But I mean, that didn't have anything to do with the applying for the fee district, but that's what you gotta take into consideration when you're looking at the amount of money that you can grab.
Well, that's gonna make it where nobody in this county will ever be able to build another station, so what's the county gonna do
Well,
about it?
unless the county decides to do something as a whole county with a fee district, and one of the other titles, is allowed to do ad valorem taxes. I think this might be a step towards that, but I don't know that for sure. That's gonna be a council decision. We've been telling them for years, they're gonna have to get into fire station building business. They know that. They've been trying to forestall it as long as they can. As long as we're able to maintain our volunteer fire service, we can continue to forestall that. Folks, I'm looking at your numbers, and we're hanging on by a thread. And a lot of the ones that are responding are not able to fight fire. They're able to get an apparatus there, they can run the apparatus, but putting people on the end of the hose to fight the fire is getting to be difficult. So, and we don't have that many career people out there either, so, and they can only do so much work.
I'd say 10 more years would be all paid firefighters in Lancaster County. Just that.
You can say that before, you can't make the county come up with all that money.
No, that's true. I mean, you may have the need in 10 years, but whether it happens or not, will still be up to the councils that are elected. You know, they give us good support in a lot of ways, but the buildings are something we've never pulled the trigger on. They build everything else, but they haven't built fire stations. But I think this is a good format to get these kinds of questions moving forward for those that are interested in doing it, at least to do exploration to see what you can accomplish and what you're gonna get. Unless you got a different way you'd like me to do it, I can get this written up and get it sent out as basically a checklist of here's how things need to go.
Darren, I sent an email a couple of months ago, and I still haven't heard nothing.
Well, and that's because we're waiting on all the processes. Some of you're interested, I got one from Tradeville, that they're interested, and several more have gone ahead and contacted Brad and got the information. Those I don't necessarily know all of them yet, so.
I need that number amount before my department can make a decision on what they wanna do.
Okay.
Darren, when is the deadline for this to let you know? 'Cause you said
There are no deadlines right now, other than you have to know that if you're gonna try to get into the 2022 election cycle, council has to make a decision in the spring, and the election commission has to have the ballot printed and ready in August for the November election.
So we're saying by March, January, February, we need it by March, we need to come up with a decision.
Or a little earlier, the initiation needs to be done as quick as possible. But to actually get it through the process and get it ready to present to council with what you wanna do, I'd say March or April.
Council's not making them get signatures anymore, correct?
I don't
They
think
just
so.
make us,
Yeah, I think they have.
That cuts most of the time off.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say, unless the county has some other auxiliary plan of getting money, it doesn't matter if you're gonna get $50,000 or $500,000 through this, it's gonna be more money than you're getting from barbecues. And you don't have, once you get it passed, that money's coming in, you establish a fee board, and you can use it for whatever. I mean, not getting it to me is just like sticking your head in the ground and thinking everything's gonna go away. Getting the money now, I just don't see it as being a.
The biggest thing, he's absolutely right with what he said. The biggest thing is that you cannot go out and sell it as, I'll put people in the station, we're gonna have people coming, we're gonna have a building, we're gonna have people sleeping there. You gotta sell it realistically. If you get $50,000, you're gonna be buying equipment, you're gonna be keeping up your station, but you're not gonna enhance anything as far as having more people to respond. County's already providing you the equipment. So you just have to be realistic in what you say. I see the donation letters that come through here, and sometimes I won't say there's any untruth in it, but the people who are writing them are not being realistic with their actual responses. So, and we don't stop that. We send them on out and let you send them because it's your community that you're dealing with. But that's what we gotta be mindful of, because if you tell the public you're gonna do something and they vote for it, and then you don't fulfill that, you'll lose their trust, and then when you really need it later, you will never get it back. That's the thing we have to guard against. We are one of the best thought-of services in the United States, and you have to guard that jealously, to be careful with what you say. But Mark's absolutely right. Money you don't get is money you'll never have.
Make sure also that you, in your community, when you do present the information of what's going to be taxed, that you present the correct information. When you get misinformation out there, it's
awful.
very fast.
And everybody understands the way this works. If you're going to the fee district, and $90 right now is the established fee, I don't think they have the ability to do different fees. I think it has to be the same fee. It goes in, I know when they do the budget every year, they adopt that $90 fee into the schedule of fees. So it is a standardized fee according to their budget when they pass their agreement as part of it. It's for every house, doesn't matter if the house is 6,000, 10,000, or 1,500 or 500 square feet. But the commercial buildings, and commercial does include churches, is every 2,500 square feet, is $90. And I think that's the only blowback we've ever gotten in these other districts, is when the churches started getting bills, because they're not taxed in ad valorem taxes. So they're not used to getting a tax bill. And most churches end up with 3, 4, 5, 6 $90 increments because of the size of the buildings that they use. So you gotta be mindful of that.
Darren, the way you present this is, if we decide we wanna do it, be brought forth for the fire commission to approve. Is that the way, if we decide to do it, that the fee districts are gonna work too, or do we set up our own board? Because
I don't have a clue, that'll be up to county council as to how the fee district boards are set up. Right now, each district has its own board.
that's the way it should stay, in my opinion, because, you know, different departments got different needs, you know, and us here as a fire commission, sometimes we can't even agree on a SOG, you know, it's kinda hard to agree on 19 different departments for budgets. Every department should have their own set standard on their fee district board to go by.
I don't know how they do that. I know some of them talked about they didn't really want to deal with 19 different boards or 18 different boards. It may be that the department have a board and then you send that budget in here, this board would put it all together and send it on over there. I don't think anybody, I think you have to have community control over that money
You said send the budget anywhere.
to the fire commission, and it would just be part of that budget process. It would go in as a, for yours, it'd be the Indian land budget that would be attached to the fire commission budget.
That's not gonna work.
It may or may not, I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to get an SOG passed, it's hard to get anything passed about going to the chiefs association, this, that, whatever your budget passed. And then I gotta justify my budget to whoever sits on that board, they may not be familiar with that district. If I sit on your board, happens to be that year, y'all decide to rotate or whatever, who's to say nah, there ain't no time on it, that.
Again, there's nothing, I have not a clue how council would want to do that. It'll all depend on how they set it up.
Currently, the council, we're gonna have a fee board over our money. Greg has a fee board over his money. And each fee board sends their request to the county council, and it's approved.
Well, that's a slippery slope when you start going down and having a fire commission oversee a board.
Well, I'm just telling you how it's working right now.
I
And
understand,
that's what,
he alluded to, they don't wanna deal with 19 departments if they don't. Essentially, what you end up with is a countywide fire service, with the director of the fire service overseeing your budget.
it's gonna be hard to keep.
That's not gonna fly.
You know, you're gonna have 19 different departments, and each department shouldn't have to take away from Pleasant Valley, Indian land to give to McDonald Green, or shouldn't have to
the
take.
money
it.
that you
You
take
cannot do-
in
you can't
cannot
do
be
that.
used by anybody else.
No.
It is your fire district money.
Currently,
No, that's the way it is, that's the law.
currently,
Yeah.
the way it's written, county council can dissolve that fee district at any time,
That's true.
at any time.
They
They can
establish it,
resolve
they can do away with it.
So if you got one big pot, I don't care what they say, they wanna say, if McDonald Green uses all their money and they gotta have something, then they may take it from Tradesville, they may take it from Gooch's. They gonna pull it out of another pot to give it to this department that needs it.
Right now, they can't do that.
No.
Well,
But
they
it-
can if they dissolve your district.
Yeah.
They can step in right now and dissolve Greg, mine, and yours, just say you're done.
But that's
They can
That's
dissolve
a way
fire
long
commission.
shot of crap that ain't gonna happen, I don't think. I mean,
Really?
you're,
Well, I got an email that says something different.
this from who?
I'm certain with that. Steve Willis.
Steve Willis ain't talking no more.
Oh, I'll say Chris, we'll get you, yeah, hang on, Chris. Not you, Chris, you're
I'll send you a copy of the email out, you can all read it, make a judgment for yourself.
Why would the county council just go through and approve our thing if they got another plan coming? They would've turned it down.
No, they wouldn't have turned it down because of where it's going.
Unless we get more money.
I don't get it.
I'll send it through and let you read it.
I ain't hearing nothing from my county councilman anyway.
Chris Madden had something he wanted to do. Go ahead, Chris Madden.
I've got two things. The first is, Flat Creek has already been working with Brad Carnes. We got some preliminary numbers, and they're not really where we need to be, obviously, with the amount of residents in our area. The first question is, on the fees, right now we've got a $90 fee. What's the process to bring that fee up to, say, 125? I'm just throwing a number out there, but is that something that has to go through county council? Does it have to come through fire commission first? What's the process to raise the fee?
Right now, county council controls the fee totally. I mean, the fire commission can have an opinion and send it, but they don't have to take that. I mean, they may or may not even want it. But the fee is established by county council. Now, they established the $90. Greg and Chris Miller, they established that $90 at y'all's request, didn't they?
Yes.
Because it was 75 at one point. Now,
So if there's.
what I said a while ago, Chris,
They pay, yeah,
what I said a while ago about, I don't know that they can do more than one fee, meaning they have, when they do the tax bills, if there's a fee established in that district, it has to be whatever the established fee is. So if they go up to 125, 150, it would have to be that much in every district that had a fee. I don't know that for certain. I need to find that out. But I think that's the way it is.
okay.
I thought it was,
And that was the
you put
first
it
question.
in and
The
you
second
voted
one
that
was
to
on
approve it.
millage. Does it have to be a fee as opposed to millage? Can we do a millage within our districts?
If council will allow it, yes, you could do a millage, which would be ad valorem. That's a question, when you as fire departments are saying we wanna do this, you need to say, we would like to do this with millage, or we'd like to do this with a fee. I don't know if the millage will be accepted by county council, but that can be part of the request. I can send all the information up the line to see what they say.
And part of that reason is if the fee is for most of the, stations within the county, other than the north end, don't have a lot of money coming in from the fee, the millage should be at a higher rate where they might be able to have enough to do the things they need to do, whether it's have a station a little quicker or put one or two guys on sooner, et cetera, if that makes sense. It might be advantageous that way.
selling it to the community is the hard part.
Yeah, millage is much harder to sell to the community, even though the fee is really not fair to the poor class of the folks out there. Because the people in the mobile home pay the same fee as the people in a 6,000 square foot mansion.
The other part of that too is you have to be careful with
But
that.
they're still getting the service.
They do.
Title
The
IV,
person
Title
in
VI
the
funding.
$6 million home or the, $60,000 trailer, they need help, we're sending help, either way.
Title IV and Title VI funding. So currently the county's under Title VI funding, which caps them at 3%.
Title 6 or Title 9?
Title VI is what the county's currently under, caps you at 3%. That's all you can raise your budget every year. If you go Title IV funding, you have to be a municipality or under a municipality in order to do Title IV funding, which allows you to set your millage to whatever your budget is.
I don't think that's right. I don't think they can raise the county budget more than the CPI. It's not a 3%.
Title VI is, what the county's under. That's what Steve Willis told me, was Title VI. Because I know Title IV funding, you have to be a municipality. So for like.
I don't know enough about it right now to talk about that.
I just don't want people to be disillusioned on the Title IV and the fundings, because you can't just take it and go whatever you want.
There is another title out there that allows them to do a county fire district or millage or fee, whichever they want to do it, but I'm not certain of the title number. But I know county councils won't raise taxes or can't raise taxes more than the CPI. That's Act 388 limits them on that. So, well, that's our biggest problem.
You said the for primary residential, that's $90 regardless of the size, and commercial,
Every 2,500 square feet.
2,500.
If you got apartments or townhomes.
Yeah, every
whatever,
apartment is a
every
separate thing
apartment
too.
is
If you got
considered
apartment
single
buildings,
family.
every apartment is considered a unit.
I thought that was up the road from you, didn't do that.
We did.
Y'all got it done? Okay.
It's the apartment, the first couple of years we did not, and then we figured that out pretty quick.
Here too.
So apartments, I mean, if they put 400 apartments in your district, that's a lot of money.
And they do generate a lot of calls, don't they?
Any way we could get someone from council, either you administrator, to come in here and answer some of these questions?
The new administrator wants to come to your meeting. I don't know when he wants to come to your meeting, but I can ask that question. He told me the other day when I finally got to meet with him as well, he's going to every department head, every division director, and spending about an hour, which for us was not nearly enough time. He actually stayed about an hour and a half with us, to be honest with him. it still is not nearly enough time to explain how everything works and all our needs and the way things interrelate. But he did tell me as part of that, he wants to come to the fire commission meeting, because I told him when we met. But I can ask about that, because part of this will be driven by the way he wants it done as well.
And you said bring it back here for support.
I'm sorry?
You said you want us to bring it back here as the fire department for the fire commission to support it. What information do you want the fire department
What
to
you
give
want to
fire
try,
commission?
once we get the dollar amount that you'll be working with, you as a department will then decide what you want to try to do with that dollar amount. And that's what I think you need to bring back to the fire commission and get its support for that. If y'all don't think that's important, I can forward it right on to the county administrator to go to council for you. But I think it can carry more weight with the fire commission support.
I don't see why fire commission wouldn't support it. Unless it's just something far-fetched, don't do it for money.
That would be the only thing. I mean, if you got $100,000, you say you want to hire 8 people, I can't see the commission supporting that, because it's not possible. I think it's just sort of a check and a balance to keep us from looking bad as a group. But that's up to y'all. You decide what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear.
You said you had a check sheet that you could send out.
Your chief had asked that we send something, and he wanted me to put it on the table tonight. And what I asked him to do was let me wait until I get back in here next week, and I'll get a sheet together based on the discussion tonight as to how we want to proceed. And that's the question I do need to know. Do you think it's worthwhile bringing what you're planning to do, your plan, back to the fire commission for support? If y'all agree with that, then that doesn't need to be on the sheet.
You put it on as a recommendation, the department's gonna do that. Unless the commission mandates it, that's their discretion whether they want to. Like you said, it looks better as a whole, if the department, if you run it by a commission, you support this, it does carry a little more weight when you present it to council.
I think it does, but again, that's a decision y'all have to make. I don't have to vote it yet.
I mean, Pleasant Valley and Inland don't send the commission exactly what they're gonna do with their money.
No, they do not
every
send
year.
their budgets to the commission, nor do they send them through me. They send their budgets
I
directly
mean,
to
I would
council.
hope the commission will support anybody that's willing to do it, but I just don't see where I need to write out a detailed memo of what Shiloh Dine's gonna decide to do with their $250,000 or whatever it be, for y'all to say, okay, that's a good idea, we'll send it on. I would hope the fire commission would just support that we know what we're gonna do with our money when we get it.
Is that not just for the initial plan to push it on?
Partly,
Bringing it to
what
council?
I meant by what I said, Sam, is not that you give an itemized budget, but that you would say, given the amount of money that we're taking in, we think this would be used to continue to supplement buying equipment above and beyond what the county provides, to work on our building, add on if you need to add bay space. If you wanted to add bedrooms on and sprinkler protectums, we'll do that as money allows, that kind of thing. Not specifically, I'm gonna spend $50 on this wrench and 75 on that. That's not what I meant.
And we kinda talked on buildings, is there something we can get, like the rules of buildings? Cause I know like Pleasant Valley and Inland, they've built these big, nice, huge stations, but for somebody like me that needs a new station in the future further up north of my district, I don't need what they've got, so I don't need 10,000 square foot or whatever. So can we get somebody to tell us what we can build? Cause like, I'm fine with the way my building is now with vinyl siding and can you do that?
You can get them cheaper than that, it's just depends on, like, our building is considered a 50-year building, so they say that building will last 50 plus years. But yeah, you can do a metal building with a brick front and, 2 bays or whatever you want, and yeah, absolutely you can get it cheaper than that if you don't, but it gets expensive when you have to start putting firewalls in, you have to start putting sprinkler systems in, it's got, you can do lay-in ceiling, but in the bedrooms it has to be double sheetrock. It gets pretty, and we found out right quick that when you do build a commercial building, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Basically, like, what we talking about is just a house, first, not no sleeping quarters.
Right.
Well, but like sleeping quarters, let's use Rich Hill for instance, let's use Shiloh, I've already got bedrooms. Does it have to be a commercial sprinkler system, or could it be a residential sprinkler system involved with bringing it up to code to where two people can sleep there? Or
I
one
think it
person
has to
sleep
be
there?
a full NFPA 13 system,
So
but
you can't come in with a residential system and.
not where people are sleeping.
No,
And does it have to be the whole building, or can it just be the bedroom?
Sam, I don't know the answer to that question well for sure.
Yeah, that's just why I'm asking, if we move forward with mine, can we have those questions answered?
I think when you sprinkle protect, you have to sprinkle the whole
The
building,
whole building.
but I don't wanna tell you that for absolute certain.
How much is the sprinkler system?
The vault's 25,000 or more. That ain't the sprinkler
I mean,
system.
it ain't no $1 million or nothing.
Hey,
You know how much we pay for
30
EMS
grand is not
for
that big of a drawback, I don't think.
But the other thing too, with the building station,
Maybe
the
this
building,
I think it was all four and a half.
Yeah, so EMS four, if you look at there, but I was thinking it was right at about four to 4.5 million. And you can't even get a fire truck in that one. I mean, it ain't tall enough, you know, but you look at their building, it's sprinkled, isn't it? Well, it has to be, cause you got
Yeah.
sleeping quarters, but, so, I mean, they, you know, Ken Newell told me, what, 2 months ago, that he said, I don't really see it coming below 350 a square foot.
And Sam, to your
And you can
question,
look at our building, when we built our building, it was just a hair under $2.1 million, and
Yeah.
that was in 2010. So,
Mark.
yeah.
3 years ago, we got close to sprinkle Rich Hill,
Yeah,
$100,000,
really?
3 years ago.
That does seem outrageous.
Mark, you wanna open up spring?
I used to do sprinklers,
get him to do about 3 before he goes bankrupt.
Well, you don't have that.
yeah. Oh, Darren, if, when we do get a substation, we're gonna have to have a substation for River Chase. Does the county supply a truck for that? How do we do?
The county is not supplying all the equipment. Now, will they want us to move, the fire commission decides where the equipment goes, that's part of the ordinance. So whether they would move a truck from another station and put a truck in that station, I don't know the answer to that. It would depend on how the money's available and where we're at. If it happened to be the year we would buy a truck, then they add a truck into that. Or it would be maybe in the next purchase, and we'd have to make do until we got there, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, but they, even if they got you a 96 top kick or something, they would put one in
A
there.
truck's a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For ISO, a truck's a truck.
And just so everybody knows, we did check on the development agreement with River Chase, and they're nowhere near 250 COs. So that's when the 2.5 million or something kicks in, so.
But they was supposed to set some acres besides the land for fire.
It's set aside, but it's not donated or signed over until that 250 CO is issued.
Okay.
we're sitting at about 83 homes right now.
I think that's right, 80 to 85 or something like that, I think is what it said.
82 now.
Yeah, I was-
Well, I've been talking to county council about it, trying to get them to go to the developer, their own thing in Texas, and possibly making a deal with them to build us a substation a little bit, give us some land, something a little quicker to help those people out. We haven't got that moving ahead really. It's been suggested by a couple of people, but
No, I'd say about that.
Get a developer to build you one of those.
the developer is has got $1.2 million set aside when they get 250 COs. Plus, there's people in that development now that are not getting, they're getting written as 10. So
Because they're more than 5 road miles from any fire station.
that's gonna affect how they sell homes in there. And we think that we can get to the developer,
About half of it is more than 5 road miles.
But it doesn't have hydrants in there?
It does have
that
hydrants.
hydrant.
It should be, if it was within 1,000 foot of a hydrant, it should be covered.
It don't matter, the hydrant right across the road, but the fire doesn't matter.
It's like,
Do
it's 5
remember
miles,
we're being broadcast.
it's like 5 miles to the clubhouse. And then it's gonna be at least 2.5 to 3 more miles in there. They won't, you gotta be within 5 5 miles of
You
station.
definitely gotta be 5 miles. from
Whether
the
you got a
station.
hydrant or not.
That's why we built our station too.
Right, that's
It's
why we
get
gotta have a
truck up there.
substation, or them people's gonna be, they're gonna have trouble selling
That,
houses.
that's not the only, Edgewater's in the same shape. They're more than 8 miles from any fire station in the county.
County council will build a station. They approved.
The development fund they had, they did actually build in, it has a percentage rate increase every year. I ran the numbers through about 22, I think it gets right at $2 million is what that grows into. Which still won't build a station. But it's a good start.
All right, well, Darren's gonna work up the checklist information and get all that sent out to everybody. It
I
sounds
still-
to me
I
like
don't know.
we're not gonna send information to fire commission for approval or anything like that. That's the way I'm listening to
Is
what
that your
y'all
consensus?
saying.
You do not want the plan to come here, you just want it to come to me once you're done, and I'll send it on to the county administrator to send to council?
I believe
I mean,
it
I won't-
really needs to go to Darren and county council.
I want commission to support any fire department that does it, I just. I
It's
mean,
like mine,
But I think it's our department, as a department, it should be our decision what we're gonna do with the money, and really not need to present that to commission, but other than, hey, this is the amount of money we're gonna get, and we have our plans for it, and we want your support.
It sounds like to me, if we send it to commission, even on the first go round, then that's what they're gonna look for at every other go round. So I think it should just be emailed to Darren and let Darren send it up, like you say, and support our decision as a fire department.
Is that what y'all wanna do?
Because, just because you have a plan, your community still has say-so whether that plan goes through. You gotta elect, or the county elects 5 people or 7 people to be on that board. And you have to submit all your plans to that board, and they have to approve it. And then the county pays the money.
And the board has to be in your district.
The board is people from your district.
now you'll have a representative
One
from,
station.
typically like the chief will have a seat on it.
Yeah.
So you get 1 seat plus
Well, that's
your
what I'm saying.
district people, yes.
90% of your board's gonna be in
Yeah,
your district.
absolutely, which is, that's a good thing.
My fire
That's
department
definitely a
member.
good
But
thing.
it's the people paying the fee are helping make the decision on how
In
to
other words,
spend.
it's like, you're gonna have one fire department member and the rest is gonna be
And
nine
they're
fire
just
department.
mainly to
Yeah.
explain what a hydrant is, if they
Business
need to know.
people.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll get that sent, Darren will get that sent out to everybody.
You got a chairman of a commission sitting right there, Mr. Parker, he can sort of tell you if you wanna get input from him on how the commission runs at Indian Land. He's the chair of that commission.
So we talked to him after the meeting, we'll move on now. Discussion concerning fire commission budget.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I think, there's nothing we need to bring up tonight other than the gift cards, and that's another item, so.
Any questions on the budget or anything that anybody has for Darren? Alright. Next, discussion concerning policy on rescue PPE and training participation. This was brought up at the last meeting in October and then appeared to be tabled to move to talk about it. I think CJ's a little bit
Yeah.
brought it up, so we'll let him.
Just my concern is we got roughly, I don't know how much it is now, we got about 80 swiftwater techs. This is our rescue specialty training, high angle swiftwater, and I'm guessing about $2,000 set a year. That's a lot of money floating around there for people that does not come to training. My recommendation would be from, for fire commission is if they don't attend at least 1 annual training a year, and that's not asking much, I would like to see 2. Then we as a fire commission or as fire chiefs, we need to pull their fire or their swiftwater gear from them. You think about it, if you got a member of the station, you run 100 calls, if that member don't pull, run but 4 calls, you're gonna pull his gear from him. Require him to do it, why shouldn't it be the same on swiftwater gear? So that's a lot of assets and a lot of money that could go to people that actually does this training. I mean, I know we got several sets that's already deteriorating because they get used a lot, and the ones that's sitting around riding in the car or staying at the station that don't get used, they can rotate them out.
Well, my thing is, are they having training in the daytime, where they can get training in the daytime and in the evening
They
time?
have them training all the time, and I'm gonna be honest with you, the last 4 or 5 trainings they had, it was me and one other person that signed up for them, and that's countywide. They've had to cancel training.
Brent does
because
try
of
to
that.
schedule it during the week, of course, for the people who are working, in the evenings for folks, and then on Saturdays for other folks. And we've had virtually nobody take part in the Saturday training, and we've only had one or two take part in the evening training after
How
5.
many Swift water tanks you said?
I wanna say roughly about 80, ain't you, Darren?
I don't think we got 80, I'm thinking Britt may know, I'm thinking it's about 55 or 60.
Last count was 63.
Well, you figure it's 63 at $2,000
We
a
just
set
added,
here.
we just added some to
Yeah.
that. So. Who said something?
Darren, we're in the mid-60s.
In the mid-60s, okay, Britt said in the mid-60s.
That includes the career guys too, correct?
Yes.
I'd like to see 2 times training, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Which I'm all for the 2 times a year, don't get me wrong. I think if you're gonna have swift water, you signed up for it, you ought to be man enough to step up to the plate and do it.
I think my concern is, and I'm speaking for my station's got about 7. And out of that 7, we got probably 2 that actually go to training. And I think a lot of departments, and like I said, I'm speaking for mine too, they just did it to check that box and said they had it, their gear's been sitting there, and they get it for that recruiting and reteaching and say they got swift water and they don't care nothing else about getting it done again. And it's costing the county a lot of money on, as far as the gear, when that gear could be used elsewhere for the people that's actually using it and taking classes.
Are the people that's got all the gear, are they getting, notified to go on calls?
The ones that's coming to training are.
That ain't what I asked you.
Yeah.
The ones that's got the training, are they getting called to go to all the swift water training?
It's sent out on active 911.
It is, well, we're trying to make sure that happens. It is set up to do that, but part of that goes back to dispatch and how they dispatch the call out. It is supposed to go out, and then the people who are in the area that the call's in, go ahead and respond. And you'll know if you live in that area, and the others are on, like on standby, or if they put themselves as available, they'd be able to do that. But we've not, thankfully, had many water calls since we got the active 911 going and got it all programmed out at 911. But all of the rescue calls are supposed to do that. If the fire department whose district it's in is supposed to be notified. That way they can get there quick. Whether they got text or not, they can still get there and give a size up of what's going on. And then the folks who have specialized training are in the active 911 system in groups, and they're supposed to be notified by that system as well.
Well, I think the email come out on the last water rescue training that they was having to the chief, or I got one, I don't know about the other chief.
The
And I
training
got swift
probably,
water.
the training probably, well, you got it as a fire chief, so that
So,
you could.
I mean, the fire chief ought to be able to hand it on down the ladder. And I had it a good month and a half in advance when the training was gonna be.
My thing is, Justin, I'm just trying to make a recommendation to save the county here, save the county money. If you're not gonna be dedicated to come at least 1 training a year, I would like to see 2, but that's what the fire commission needs to decide. We need to pull their gear from them.
Mr. Chairman,
I think a minimum 1.
Go ahead, Chris.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
I know there's been a lot of discussion, there's 2 issues that come up a lot. One of them now is been the training, and the second is the call-outs. I'd like to make a motion that we just send these 2, there's 2 separate SOGs, I don't have them in front of me, but there's one for the requirements for the rescue team, and there's also one for the process of dispatching the rescue, or dispatching for a rescue. I'd like to make a recommendation to send that back to the SOG committee and collect concerns from all of the stations or anybody else individually that has concerns, things they would like us to look at, and let the SOG committee go through everything, put together what might be the best for the fire service, for the citizens that we serve, and bring that back to the fire commission as a whole, to look at, and vote on.
Alright, so you make a motion to send the SOGs that are for, what were the 2?
There's one for the requirements to be on the rescue, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but in order to be on a rescue team, there's an SOG for the requirements, so that would be one that we could cover with the training. And the other issue that comes up constantly is the dispatch
y'all hear his motion?
Hey, that's what I want, just looked at, it's in the package tonight.
Yeah, go ahead, Perry.
Tell you what, I'm with CJ. I'm not sure how we get, this point to where we're gonna pull gear, but I am with CJ. Exactly how he feels about it. I'm also one of the ones that's kind of with the Swiftwater that, since I've taken that course, I think I might have received one page and then I was canceled before I could even do anything to respond to that page. So sometimes, you know, sometimes I think it's not as much your right as it is volunteer right. As far as, even if we are training, it's very disheartening sometimes not to be able to do anything or go anywhere. Because honestly, Beaufort doesn't have a whole lot of water in its area. When we have flooding, that's when we have our problems. But for the most part, you're talking about maybe a call or so a year. But I don't know, I would still like maybe at some point to discuss like what Chris was talking about, that dispatch process. Even if we don't do anything when we get there, I really don't care as much, just as long as I get to show up for something. I think that gives me more interest than having my paper off and it says, hey, don't even bother to respond. I understand why you don't want volunteers at the site, but at the same time, I think it would do everybody good to make the trip sometimes. If nothing else, just for one, to be a part of the team, and two, to respond as needed, if that makes sense.
Is it? I guess I'm trying to figure out, CJ talking about training, right? Everybody's talking about calls, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about training.
Call and training, two different things.
Well, we've got a motion on the floor right now, so we need to have a second so we can continue these discussions.
I'll second it.
I got a motion from Chris Madden that we send the SOGs concerning rescue teams, requirements as well as dispatching of a rescue incident to the SOG committee for review and to be brought back with a second by Greg. All right, now we keep on discussing.
I think I understand this, training is one thing but I think it all correlates together that the people was going to trainings and they don't get the calls, they never get the calls, it's the same 2 or 3 people going on the calls, cause it gets phone called to them and they get en route before it ever gets dispatched out, and by the time you finally get the dispatch, they're canceling everybody cause the incident's over. So people find it's like, why am I going to all this training if I'm never gonna get dispatched out to go? So I think that's where the disconnect is I think it's going to tie back to the dispatch. Well, not the dispatchers, but how it's been dispatched. I think.
That's why we're trying to get away from the telephone call.
Well, I don't think we're there yet. That's the problem.
I think this was added in 2 different things. I know Perry brought it up too, but what I was bringing forth, and it's kind of tied in, was we need to come up with an SOG, or it's in here, but it don't state if you don't come to these trainings, your gear's gonna be full. My thoughts are, you gotta be trained to be ready on that, because, I mean, you know as well as I do, Justin, you got guys at your station, any chief in here, you got guys don't go in with one structure fire at 1152, you're not gonna put them in there at a burn if they never go back in another house again. That's the same thing with Swiftwater, you know, if you never come to training, then why should you have gear to come to training with, you know? So I think we need to come up with some kind of discipline action on if you do not come to training about pulling your gear.
That's what I thought like CJ was talking about versus that.
What Chris said, put it in the requirements for rescue.
Who's over rescue in the county? Like, who makes the decisions?
We've got a rescue committee. We ain't met in about 2 years.
I know, but I'm on that rescue committee with you. Who's over rescue in the county on the paid side that makes the decisions? Like for call
You're
out,
talking about
or
from the
whoever
career
gets a
viewpoint?
call out.
I am.
So you're the one that sends back to 911, or you
No.
call this, how does that work?
Now, it's supposed to generate from public safety communications through 911, whether I'm involved in the process or not. That was to take that phone call out, because if I happen not to get the call, that delayed the whole process. Because if they didn't get me, they were supposed to call Keith. Well, sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. Then they go down the line to Billy, and then to Brent, and to Stewart. That's the way it goes down my chain of command. Well, if none of us answer the phone, you got a lot of time involved. So we wanted it to get out on the page Number one, that's why the fire department whose district it's in needs to get paged immediately. That gets people already on, whether they got the training or not, that gets them involved in their district and gets them moving. As they're doing that, it's supposed to be given out as that kind of alert, which ties it back to Active 911 and sends it out to the group, so that the group people are going. So I don't make calls anymore.
Who sends the group alert out?
It generates out of Active 911.
It generates out of Active 911,
Yeah.
so nobody out of this office generates that,
No,
that alert.
no. We can, but we don't. It's supposed to happen automatically. That's what we're trying to do, is take us individually out of having to make that decision, because if that person, meaning me, doesn't get the call, everything slows down. Or doesn't happen at all for a period of time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if you can, I don't know if everybody can hear me, but the reason I request to have this sent back to the SOG committee, with everybody that's got concerns right now, is bringing up concerns, and I'm sure there's more that aren't even there at the meeting, send that stuff to Jason, to our chairman of the SOG committee, so we can compile all of the concerns and recommendations, if they have some ideas as to how many times you need to come to training or whatever it may be, and have us compile all of that. That was kind of the idea of bringing that back to the SOG committee, not just to let those members make the decision, but to also compile everybody's concerns. Right now, everybody's got ideas and they're spouting them out here at the meeting, but if we can organizationally take those things, look at them, analyze them, and see how they can fit in, we can probably come up with something that everybody's looking for, that makes sense.
I think they all heard you.
Okay,
What was the last rescue page done?
But they have to get that information for us to look at.
That'd be on
Otherwise,
October
the
16th,
SG
was the
committee has
last one
nothing
page
really
done.
to look at.
But what now?
The last rescue page out was a high
The
angle,
folks have to submit that information to us so we can look at.
October
If they don't
16th.
submit it, we've got nothing else to really look at or analyze, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the same thing, what you're saying is what happened about every time we talk about an SOG. We all have these things, but when it gets to the committee,
Nobody says
wanna do
anything.
anything.
Right, so now's your time, if you've got a concern, you need to send it to the SOG committee. If we vote tonight to send it back to them, then this is your time to submit that information, your requests or concerns. If you don't, come to the next meeting, you don't have any place to complain about anything.
All right, so we've got the motion and the second on the floor. We've had some discussion concerning this, based off, again, what the motion was to send to the SOG the requirements for the rescue teams and dispatching procedures for rescue calls for their to review. Again, if this is something that you want to see done, and I think, like you said, it can take in what CJ's bringing up. If we're gonna talk about requirements to be on the rescue team or whatever, this can be part of what, like CJ has recommended and all, like Chris Madden just recommended. So we can review this SOG and they can work on it. Again, I don't think this is gonna be one that we can get back quickly and have it done, and then, but we wanna definitely get information back to us so we can review it and get back to our stations, and we're trying to get everything back to each other, but,
I'd like to see it done by the end of the year, that way we start January 1 off of next year, knowing everybody that owns or has a set of Lancaster County gear. You know, within January 1 of 2022 to December, you've got to come to one, or at the end of December, we're gonna pull your gear, and it comes back to us.
You mean December this year or December?
No, December next year.
Okay.
I think this HOG needs to be wrapped up by the end of this year, so January 1, we can set it in motion to where it's clear and defined. If you possess a set of water gear, you got 365 days to come one time, and if you don't, at the end of December, you're done.
You may be able to get that.
We can make that, we can vote on that now. We have a
I
right to
think
vote on.
I know we need to send it to SOG committee requirements, that's all
The
I'm saying.
SOG committee just is gonna put into writing what we vote on. If we want to, I mean, we set 36 hours minimum training for each person, which I don't think everybody gets, but, we can set, if we want one one training a year, two training a year, whatever, we can vote on that now, and the SOG committee incorporates that into the SOG. Nobody has to, or not, they're gonna have to come back here with the SOG with a recommendation, then we're gonna have to vote on it.
And that was my point, was there's a lot of people that have concerns, and a lot of people who send that information in to compile. Because right now, we've got information from maybe one or two people.
Well, we've already put that out last week, right? It was, we were gonna talk
Well,
about
that's why we took it and went home.
Yeah.
You're supposed to talk to your departments
That's
and
already
and
been-
see how
that should
everybody
already be done.
felt. Yeah.
I think we make a decision tonight on make one training.
A minimum of one training on the specialty trainings, I mean, not just Swiftwater, on any of the specialty trainings.
And all I'll say is just make sure, if you take to give one person, it better be fair across the board, because it hasn't been in the past. And if, I don't care if it's the top Swiftwater guy in the United States, if he don't come to the training, y'all better pull his gear.
We also
Need
need
to
to
make
set
sure
what,
whether the training is gonna consist of you on the actual call too. So if you show up at a call, you gonna consider that training?
That's a call.
Alright, just wanting that clarified.
alright, well, we've got one motion on the floor right now, we gotta wrap that motion up if we're gonna make another motion to move forward with.
I say.
But are we looking at just Swiftwater, or are we gonna say anything? So if you wanna be on the missing person team, you have to come to one missing person training, I mean, or is this just specifically gonna be water?
My main concern was on the water gear, because there's so much money involved on that. The other ones is, you really don't have any gear personally involved in it. But, same thing before, if you're gonna train, you need to train to be ready. So I think it should be across the board, in my opinion.
Every specialty team.
If it's gonna be in Swiftwater, it needs to be all of them, cause if training's the issue, then that should be across the board.
We need to split these teams too, that would help a lot, instead of having.
Well, that's something you send to the
Yes, it
SOG
is,
committee.
Yeah, I understand, I mean, splitting the teams is probably what you need to do, you need to create a special ops team for each one of these disciplines.
I think it is an act 911.
Yeah,
It's not showing here.
we'll talk about
You're
it.
talking about individualized Swiftwater people.
Well, listen, man, you can be good at a lot, but you can't be great at
No,
everything.
that's true.
And the thing of it is, if you wanna do water, then you pick that discipline to be in. If you wanna do road, you pick that discipline to be in.
Well, that's what we've done.
And you create a
Everybody
special
has,
operations team.
everybody has picked disciplines they're interested in,
Three.
and that's how they've been added to the groups in Active 911. They have to have the training before they can put them in there. Just having the interest doesn't do it, but once you get the training, you go in that group.
I guess where I'm going with that is a more refined group. Instead of having three disciplines that you're.
I thought at one point we were gonna do it something in the.
Yeah, Chris knows.
That's what I was wondering about. Football rescue, so valley to Great Falls, not the. Rescue, I guess.
Alright, well, the motion is on the floor, all in favor of sending, like Chris recommended, or for his motion, Chris Madden, the, SOG for the requirements of rescue teams and that SOG for dispatching of individuals to the SOG committee for review with recommendation for everybody. All in favor of that, raise your hand so we can see. Keep it a little bit, Ms. Donna can check. Alright. All opposed to that? Alright, that motion fails to send those recommendations down. Is there another motion that wants to be made?
I make a motion that the specialty teams from Swiftwater all the way down, if you don't come to at least one training a year, they need to pull your gear,
The only one that has gear is water.
is water.
So we can pull you off the
Take
team.
you off that.
Pull you off that team.
Alright, so your motion is that you
For
have,
how long?
Till they get recertified or get their training again. Because, what I'm saying, if you got guys that's went to the base Swiftwater class or Rescue 3 or whatever, 10 years ago, I got a guy on my station that done it with the city, has never been through it again, that's been 10 years ago.
So, I'm just asking, how long are you taking them out for 6 months? Are you taking them out until they get a training? Or, I mean,
there gotta be
if
some
we're gonna do
kind of
this, it's gotta be across the board fair. for
Are they gonna
everybody.
be required to go back
It's-
through Rescue 3 to be recertified?
Is it
Well,
gonna
don't say
be,
Rescue 3 because they may not even be done, they may not even exist anymore.
Or any company that certifies you to.
Whatever training the county
and are we
is.
talking about the county trainings?
Yeah.
Or can they go to
Yeah,
some other
that's-
training? Cause like I said, I've got two guys that teach for Rescue 3 Swiftwater that's on the team that they need to come and do it, or,
If we decide to send our people to the White Water Center, which is NFPA certified training, does that count, or does it gotta be, you gotta go through Brit and training divisions training?
I would think that if they can bring us certificates saying that they have recertified for this year, that would count as a update your training.
And like our guys that do shift training, with our training count, does it have to be Brit training, is gonna, for hiding, or does it have to be Brit training for or search and rescue? So just remember when you make, cause all of our people are on this team, when you make a motion, make sure you lay it out.
and that's why I'm asking these questions, so, cause that's what my guys are gonna ask me, is it, do I have to go, is it the county trainings, or is it, I can go to whatever training?
Part of your question is if they do not make the training one quarterly training in a year, and they're pulled off the team, what do they have to do to be back on the team, if they choose they want to be back on
What
the
is,
team?
what,
Can they go to a quarterly training and get
well, that's what I'm saying,
enacted?
is if
or do they have to take the whole thing over again? And that's your question too,
Well,
right?
and is Brit gonna start offering quarterly wilderness search, quarterly Swiftwater, quarterly, or
They're being done now.
Or one-
Nope,
Hey,
no.
before we do that, I think we need to send this back to the rescue committee, and we need to write this stuff down, because we're getting ready to make decisions that's gonna affect a lot of people.
I don't think we can make a decision.
I'm all for doing what needs to be done, but let's do it the right way. If we're gonna fix it, let's fix it right. Let's send it to the rescue
I
committee.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
Let's
think
go
there's
right.
way too many variables out there. Is it, if we say you gotta come to the county's training, that's fine, we just need to make sure that's in this, so, you know, when my guys say, well, I can't come down there, I can go over here to White Water Center and get Swiftwater, or I can go over here and do a high angle rescue class, is that gonna suffice, or is it gonna be, no, you didn't come to the county training and you're out? And then it might be a year before that class is back over, so they're out a year. Then you also gotta look at, you get a lot of people off the team, then you don't have a team.
Yeah.
So,
I make a motion to send this stuff to the rescue committee.
I'll second that, send it to the rescue committee
Let's
come
get
up
all
with
the
their
questions
ideas.
written down first, before we try to address anything. If we're gonna fix it, let's fix it right.
So your motion is to send the training requirements to be a part of the
Training
teams.
requirements to be a part of the teams, and let's also send this,
Big time.
one other thing, let's also send the page out response to the rescue committee. And let's come out with a set of guidelines from the rescue committee on page out response.
So the same motion we had just a minute ago, but this time send it to the, no, we're gonna send it to the rescue committee instead of the rescue committee. Same motion that was a minute ago, but now it's
So
sent to
who,
the rescue.
where do we send our concerns to now? Because there was gonna be an SOG, which we voted that down. So I think the whole broad of this is this don't matter whether you go to Fort Mill and get training or you go to Columbia and get training. We're asking for one day a year with our equipment in this county that you come train on what we have with our equipment. I think that's what CJ was originally saying. It don't matter whether I go to Nantahala 5 times this year. We want you here with us. That way, if we have to act as a team, we can work as a team.
You want a part of the team.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, if I don't ever train with Chris Miller, I don't know what he's capable of doing. He could say he's went to 5 other trainings this year, but if he don't know how to get in our boat and crank our boat, what good is that? I know we're going way off from what CJ's recommendation was, is we just want you, if you're gonna be on these Swiftwater team, come one time a year and get in the water with us, crank our boats, drive our boats. It's Lancaster County. I mean, it's not, we're getting way off from it.
I think the rescue committee needs to be making those decisions, that's why that committee's there.
I think it's fire commission, like, I mean, we go over the year with other people.
I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars just out there floating around. And I see gear when I was out on the road that's been sitting in the chair for 5 years and ain't never been unbagged except to be checked. And the man was never in the water. So that's $2,000 that has sat there for 5 years and he's never been in a boat with it. Now, there's a problem with that.
I'll
That is a problem.
There's several problems,
That's
and
a
most of them
huge
tie back to
problem
they never got called to an incident.
of our money.
Who's on the rescue committee anyway?
Yeah, who is that? I mean,
I'd
I
have to
think
look
that
back.
needs to be a new.
It's been 2 years since it's met. Rescue committee, y'all gotta understand, rescue committee is not a standing committee. We put it on your agenda with the standing committees, but it is not part of the ordinance.
So
We
who-
realized that a while back. It was just the folks that had interest in the rescue got
I
put on
think that
that.
needs to be an appointed committee from this commission, and you pick who's gonna be on there, not just be people who had interest.
Well, we'll have to go back and look and see how it was organized to start with. I'm gonna be
I
honest
don't
with
even know
you.
who's on the committee.
That was
I hear
pretty
people talk about the rescue committee, but who is the rescue?
It was pretty much the three departments that done swiftwater rescue start.
And it was set up before we had a lot of people on the team too, so I just have to go back and look and see how we organized it. I think Butch, you were chair at the time we started it, but
It was just
it was a hodgepodge.
a group from different stations or whatever.
All right, well, we still have Chris's motion. Is there a second for
I
Chris's
rescind
motion?
mine.
Yeah,
Okay.
see-
I
see-
rescind
CJ did second, okay, I was
CJ did second.
My main concern was starting this with, I was asking for some disparate action for people not coming to at least one training a year, and this all got involved in it. So I still think, me personally, I recommend, what Sam was saying, if you don't come to at least one training a year for Swiftwater, then they need to pull your gear. And I think we need to vote on it tonight, that way come January the 1st, and I think that needs to be a county training, even like Greg's people. He's got people that teach for rescue crews, but like Sam was saying, if they go to 20 trainings a year up in Nantahala, they still haven't worked with Lancaster County here. So one Lancaster County training per year, or you need a 4-year Swiftwater year,
Until they come to the.
until they come up to the next one, yeah.
Not completely redo a whole new
No.
plan, okay.
Really wanna get involved, you know, man, it's a commitment, if you're gonna be on the team, it's a commitment, whether you're paid or volunteer.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
I second it.
All right, so you took your motion out, right?
Rescind.
All right, so CJ's motion is to,
Solve the world's problems.
And if we see that that's not working in the future, everybody will be thinking about it, and if we have to send it to the rescue committee or SOG committee, then so be it. But right now, something needs to be in place now for these people that's not coming home.
Rescue people is disbanded, folks.
Yeah.
all right, well, so CJ's is to make a motion that you're required, if you run the Swift Water team, rescue team, that you have to come to one Lancaster County organized Swift Water rescue water training a year to continue to be a part of the team, or your gear is taken away until you make it back to the team, the training.
So it's just swiftwater.
So this is only Swiftwater. What about the other areas? Okay, so,
Don't go to that pond.
Starting today?
Wait a minute.
no,
January
I
1.
think it'd be effective
January
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 1st.
1, 2022.
Is what the motion
Go
said.
with training.
By January 1?
No, that's when it'll start. It'll be for the 2022.
Then they've got the whole
This
year.
calendar year.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, everybody's got that motion to see this morning. Is there a second? Mark, second. All right. Any other discussion on CJ's motion? All in favor of being required to come to one training a year, Lancaster County organized training, water training a year to be a part of the team?
Can I make another motion when we get this one approved?
Nice.
Okay.
All right, raise your hand up so we can see who's required to come to a training.
Mr. Chairman, my vote is no.
Okay. Got you, man. All right, all opposed?
I haven't counted into what about that?
Stacy is yes. You agree? Jason? Jason is yes.
Okay. So Jason and Stacy are yes. So that's 12 to 3.
All right, so that motion passed, so starting January 1, 2022, and we'll have to work with the training division to make sure they have multiple opportunities to make these trainings, whether it's weekdays and weekends and night times or whatever. So There's gonna be a big budget increase next year for training, vision overtime.
I got another one now, Justin.
We ain't let you talk.
Okay, well, I do have another
Go
one.
ahead.
Now that the rescue, committee was kinda turned down on that one, I make a motion that the rescue committee get together between now, this will just kinda get it rolling on Swiftwater and come up with guidelines to bring before for us and to the SOG committee, what Madden was saying, coming up by January where we can have something on that for the other specialty teams.
Motion for the rescue committee to start working on requirements to continue to be a part of the team for the other specialties outside of water.
Yes, sir.
I second that if it includes water.
Well, include water.
I mean, all, I mean, you
That's the
gotta
reason
do
why
it all.
we hold that.
Include it for all.
That's kind of what I was wanting to do, was put that in, that's the reason why.
Training requirements to be part of the team for all specialized rescue.
That's from Stephen.
Well,
And who's second?
Jackson.
Okay, Justin came second.
And also by the next one, can we get a list of who's on the rescue committee so we can send our concerns to them?
Or
Well,
December
I would
meeting.
like this, I would like that, and then I would like to see if we need to appoint more members or create a new one. For, like I say, I've been chief since 2014, and I have no clue who's on the rescue committee. So I'd like to see that, I'd like to see that come up, and if we need to
Originally,
appoint
it was
new
the
members.
Big Brother stations and the chairman of the fire commission, which was Butch,
And me.
and Darren as the staff.
I agree, but there might be other input that wants to be on that committee, so I think that needs to be done.
Well,
I'm just saying, when it comes
at the time it was set up, I think those stations were the only ones that even had people trained in most of these ready.
I'll swap with Sam, he can take my spot.
We'll do that in a little bit. All right, so we got the motion and the second, Jason seconded CJ's motion to have the rescue committee meet to discuss all training requirements for specialized rescue. All in favor of that motion?
One word?
Yes, Chris.
Keep them up for Donna.
One word?
Motion to have the rescue committee meet to discuss all training requirements. Both on line are yeses.
Yeah, Barry and Chris are yes.
Any opposed? Alright, and we'll get the rescue committee members sent out so everybody can see them, so that could be,
And then we got a discussion on the next meeting, whether we're gonna add or subtract, or whatever we wanna do with that, that's why I'd like to see that.
That's an ad hoc committee, so the commission can do as it chooses at that time.
What's that?
It's an ad hoc committee, it's not a standing committee, so you can make a change. The standing committees are actually part of your ordinance.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
please don't forget about the dispatch aspect of this as well. So,
That's the next
we don't
SOG.
sit up there and feel like we're never going to use it. You know, that's a driver.
Oh, yeah, and that, we're gonna talk about that as well. All right, is anything else on those, points of topic? All right, we move on to, discussion concerning gift card authorization.
The gift cards have been purchased. This is the last year that Airpoint will be able to sell them to us. They sell them to us for $2.50 a piece. We load them with $60, and that's what we've done this year. Founders Federal Credit Union has purchased Airpoint, and Founders does not do gift cards. So when I dealt with Airpoint, they don't do their transition for another month. They were able to sell them to us this year. The next best price I got from anywhere was either First Citizens or the old BB&T, and both of them are $3.95 per card. So it may cost us a little bit more, almost $400, I guess, next year to do the gift cards. So we may have to come up with another solution, or that may be the direction we end up going. So, but because I think the gift card program is one of the more popular things that we get done a year, because everybody that has taken training and is in your station qualified gets that. They don't have to be firefighter 2 going on and that kind of thing. The older folks always get that. So, sooner, they should be ready, and unless something goes haywire because of COVID, they should be ready for you on your December meeting to get here and then be able to take you to membership.
Any questions, anything on that gift card program? All right. Discussion concerning communications, SOG revision.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, it's in here. I will tell you that after we had printed this and had it ready to mail, Chris Madden did send him some changes, but the whole committee got his changes to me. He sent them to everybody, and the committee will be able to discuss those along with whatever your discussion is here tonight. The intention for this SOG is not to pass it tonight, but to get discussion going on it, get it on the table, because we've had a number of folks that have emailed some different things in here that we forwarded on to the committee. And some of those have been addressed, some of them have not been addressed, but this will get it going. And then I still recommend this one go to the Chiefs Association before it's finally adopted and then comes back to you with their recommendation. Because it does affect a lot of different ways that things are done here in the county. So.
That's the thing. There's a lot of talk tonight, there should be a lot of emails. They come back to it, because if you look at page 5 and 8, on special rescue incidents, goes back to what we were just on. So all your concerns from the dispatching to whatever, who's going or whatever, we gotta have it all. I mean, getting something from 1 or 2 stations, and then we bring it back, and there's a lot of discussion, we don't like it, but here's your chance now. You ain't got my email to get with me before we leave. Everybody knows Tony's email. Tony's very good about getting it to the ones that need it and stuff, but let alone on that one page on that, that's gonna take a lot to come up with. I mean, the highlighted areas that's in this right now is what we've already come up with on what we think needs to be changed already and stuff. But
Have y'all changed some of it already?
we hadn't changed it. This here is just gonna take back for you to look at.
Yeah,
the station.
The highlighted things are things that we made changes to based on discussions on the committee level.
Well, I marked up one and sent it back in, and there was a lot of stuff that was on that one that's not on this one. So somebody
Well,
changed it in the last month.
And this, that's only, I don't know.
what Donna sent you was the one that was the adopted one. This was in the committee being worked on.
I don't get it.
I forwarded it to Tom.
Okay, maybe Tony sent you see that you adopted
I
one.
was supposed to have gotten the latest one that was in the book, and I marked it all up.
I think,
A lot of stuff that was on there is gone now. But it should have been, talking about inland rescue and Lancaster rescue.
yeah.
I just,
The one that was in the book was from 2013. That's probably what you got a copy of. This was the one the committee was working on. Tony wouldn't have sent this out just to anybody until it was authorized to go out. At the time you had that question, this one wasn't authorized to be given to anybody but the committee members.
okay.
This is just what.
We sent your comments, he sent your comments to the committee. So as we were talking about these different things, your comments were taken into consideration. I don't know that they've completed all of that.
My question is, nobody was working on this till we brought it up about 2 months ago. Is that true? Or you
No,
been
no,
on it for
you've
years?
been working on it for
Well,
about
it's
6 or
been
8
talked
months.
around back and forth.
Yeah. The committee's been working on it a good while. The previous committee was working on it. It just never had
That
gotten off
seems to
hold.
blow my mind that it takes that long to get a new SOG out when that one had so many holes in it. I know I'm not on the SOG committee, I know you have to do it when you can, but there was a lot of stuff wrong with that thing that could have been fixed before anybody wrote anything.
We'll look at this real good with your other comments to make sure that we all do that.
I can't find the page I was looking for now, 7 of 8. I had a question about that one. On, number 7, canceling calls. I like that, whoever Chuck Carrick is, I don't know. Okay, I like that idea of being able to let the incident commander do it.
everything you can, because we need it all.
I'll read over
We
this
go.
one.
Put it with the one you had.
But, yeah, I was gonna say, your stuff has already been forwarded to the committee.
Yeah. That's what I thought, some of it had already been done, that's what I thought this was already the revised one, I was just wanting, add that.
This here's just more information we can go over to see
Yeah.
if it's closer to what you like and
Yeah.
stuff, whatever you say.
I guess one question,
Is, the way it's currently written, would not the, Lancaster County staff member show up in the, most of the vehicle they drive, are they not considered emergency apparatus, not sirens, et cetera, authorized emergency vehicle? Usually I hear one of the latest, Lancaster County fire truck 3 or 5 in route, would that not cover anybody in the apparatus who's accept this command to be able to upgrade or downgrade the call as of, I'm okay adding this in there, but would that not cover them right now, as it is written?
You talking about my career guys?
Is that their vehicle not considered an emergency apparatus, an authorized emergency apparatus?
It's
It's
an
a little bit of a stretch, it's not a fire.
I don't know that I'd call it emergency apparatus, it is an emergency response vehicle. But they're not gonna,
Referring to an engine.
yeah, yeah. Y'all hear Tony?
It's referring to it, correct?
This is referring to an engine or a tanker, I guess, or, yeah. Not a pickup, not a QRV or whatever.
on number I, for the motor vehicle collision, says dispatch 2 stations, and comma 1 heavy rescue station, and refer to EMS, does that mean 3 stations? Or is that the main station and 1 heavy rescue?
It would be the,
5 of 8.
it'd be the, 2 stations like, 17 and 6, and then the city is the heavy rescue until,
For their area.
for their area, or the Indian Land, Pleasant Valley area, or Kershaw's, the Big Brother. Right now, we get 2 stations in the heavy, Big Brother station is what the original term was.
Are they currently doing 2 stations for that?
2,
I
for
thought
entrapment.
we were just doing 1 station and a heavy rescue station.
It's supposed to be 2 with a.
Entrapment's supposed to be
with
2 and a
entrapment.
heavy rescue
Okay.
station. And I'm gonna tell you, I think you need to continue that, because when you look at how many people are responding in a station,
Yeah, I don't.
You need
have
2
any
or 3
problem
or
with that.
4
I just wanna
stations
make sure I
sometimes.
understood right.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Like I said, just get it all back to me or Tony. There's a lot with the discussion that went on with the previous action item. That can change a lot of this and stuff, but, and it's something, I mean, we can get together and meet in person now, but it's, you got to get it back to us quick to be able to do that, so we can get it back in before the next meeting. So Tony has time to type everything up and do everything. You can't wait 2.5 weeks to send it to us.
they're a lot more productive when they can do things by email, back and forth, and get it done, and then maybe have a final face-to-face and get it going. So,
And stuff, but within the next week to 10 days, we need to be getting something back pretty quick.
Do y'all have access to the dispatch protocol is for the rescue zone?
That's,
I mean, we got a little short word there that says they're doing it part of the protocol, but do y'all know what the protocol is to see if it's right? That was my question. You know, is the protocol to call certain areas, or is it to call everybody, is it to call?
I'm just going by what's here, that's all
I know, that's what I'm saying, I think y'all need to look at the
protocol, what they,
protocol.
when the call goes out for swift water, they can't limit it in the active 911, because dispatch can't do anything with active 911. It acts in the background of their system. When we put people in a group, when that swift water call or water rescue call goes out, it's gonna notify everybody in that group. You're gonna have to
Do
know,
they know what groups are being notified? I just wanna see.
everybody's gonna be notified in that group. You've got to know that if you don't live in that, or if you're not in that region, we basically divided the county into 4 regions.
Okay.
If you're not in that region, you don't just start responding. You mark on there, I think they said you go available. And then if enough people get there and they need more help, then they start bringing in people over the radio. So you're supposed to continue to monitor that call. But most of our calls end pretty quickly, thankfully. It doesn't end up dragging out for a long, long period of time. And We haven't had that many recently, and I'm talking about in the last year or so, and I'm thankful for that too. Now, when the recreational flows start on the top of the river at night relief, I suspect our swiftwater calls are gonna go up phenomenally. We're not gonna know what to do with them, but they're gonna go up phenomenally. So,
Give any, like Jason said, give any concerns or information you have on this SOG back to him and Tony as quickly as possible so they can work on that as a committee in more detail. Moving on to discussion concerning call types.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything to add to that tonight, other than, there appears to be, and this came to me from the 911 director, not from me to him. I had noticed it on the radio, but I don't know how prevalent it has been and is gonna be, but hopscotch and landing zones. And the thing that brought that up was the call that Shiloh Zion and Unity had a couple weeks ago, where there was an automobile wreck, extrication. They were gonna fly the patient from the racetrack. Shiloh was handling the extrication. Unity set up the landing zone at the racetrack. Paramedic came on and moved the landing zone from the racetrack to Andrew Jackson State Park. That's 2 miles. In helicopter world, that's 5 seconds. I did not understand that listening to it on the radio, but you will notice I don't interject myself into your calls. I might ask you a question later, but I don't do that. But then when I got the call from 911 about that causes them a lot of problems, we didn't initiate that, I didn't think, and then I talked to Sam later, he didn't initiate it. But what it did was, is we had 2 fire departments already tied up. Now another fire department had to be toned out that had not listened to the call, probably didn't know the call was going on. So now Van White had to be called up. And at that time of the evening, y'all set the landing zone up then right beside 521. Don't you, in the area there?
We said that went up Algae Park.
You're able to go through the gate and go inside the park?
They don't lock it anymore.
Okay, all right. I was thinking when the gate was locked, you had to set up there on 521. But still, we had another fire department brought out for what, in my mind, didn't make much difference. Now, Robert said he did talk to Clay, and Clay said their policy is that once they get a patient in that ambulance, if they sit there a certain period of time, they're supposed to be moving toward a high level of care. That's fine, well and good. I don't know what the regulations are there. I wouldn't even pretend to know. But I would think you want to move more than 2 miles. If they want to move from Racetrack Crossroad to Lowe's, where they've been bringing Dragonos out, that would have made more sense to me. But to move 2 miles just so you say you move the patient, that took a lot of moving pieces on our part, as well as now found out from 911, they don't call Charlotte, they call Nebraska. Everything in the helicopter world is now dispatched out of a dispatch center in Nebraska, who has to then call where the helicopter is actually being dispatched from. And so there's a lot of places where information can get wrong in that process, and that's what upset Robert. And that's why he was asking the questions. So I don't know that we need to do anything with that unless it becomes a problem, but I don't know that we need to be hopscotching landing zones for 2 miles. So you all will ultimately make that.
There are circumstances where, there's a reason not to use that. Just like the one at Taxi Hall Crossroad right now. That field is full of equipment.
Okay.
They want to land there, you can't land there now.
But you would know that initially, when the
Yeah.
call comes out. You wouldn't have already set it up and then moved it to there.
Well, no, dispatch always picks the land zone.
But you can tell them that that's not the one they need.
That's what I thought you.
No. This was already set up and the helicopter was on the way. They were just gonna have an extended time period. Because Unity at first was on standby, and then they came on and set up the landing zone, and then 10, 15 minutes later is when it was moved. As I said, I'm giving you that for information. I don't know that you need to do anything with it tonight, but you need to know about it. And it was a concern for 911, that's why I'm giving it to you.
but the EMS was sitting there waiting for the helicopter at the racetrack at the time.
EMS, I think, was still on the scene with the wreck. I don't think they had gone to the racetrack. They left the wreck and then went on, where the wreck was, and then went on to, instead of going to the racetrack, which was very close there, they went on to Andrew Jackson Park, which is a couple miles on up the road.
I might hear they sitting there moving from the racetrack then. If they'd been sitting at the racetrack for 10 minutes waiting on none of that, that'd be a different story.
Well, now, that's where Clay's policy comes in. They would have been sitting there for 10 minutes, waiting on them to get, because they were gonna have an extended time coming to the racetrack. My question was, why they only moved 2 miles? And that, in the helicopter world, that's 5 to 10 seconds. But if they'd moved from one place, or at racetrack, to Lowe's, where they were getting on closer to the hospital in Pineville, or if they wanted to move to 75, where they're getting closer to Waxhaw, wherever they plan to take them. You know, we don't need to be making decisions on patient care. That's not our training level. But at the same time, we can't hop from Shiloh to Van Wyck to Indian Land to Pleasant Valley and have departments popping up just because we want to move the patient 2 miles.
Let's see what you're saying, man.
I don't have an answer. I'm just giving you the problem that was out there. And the request was made about information.
All right, but y'all just keep that in mind. Moving on to discussion concerning fire alarms and policy.
Nothing to be done there.
Discussion concerning AFG grants approval or not any.
I think everybody that did one got kicked. We finally did get kicked on the safer grant that we did from the career side, asking for the 6 people that the big state called for. And we'll, as soon as we can, we'll do that one again. Do remember the AFG grants open next week. I think they'll open on Monday. And if I remember right, December the 15th is the closing date.
Standing committee reports, SMG.
Get it done too as quick as you can.
Strategic plan.
Speak up a little better, please, sir.
Apparatus. There's no report.
Unless Billy's got something, I hadn't heard anything.
The bond will sell next week.
So we got the pricing and all back?
We've got, you're talking about on the trucks. We think so. We don't have the pricing on the handheld equipment. Me and you need to talk a little bit about that. But other than that, we've got a planning figure on the command post, which y'all are not interested in. It's not a ladder, but we've also got the estimations on the 3 ladders. So,
I like that. That's good.
what's that?
Y'all are interested in that, very well.
Nothing on the budget. PERT. Station announcements.
Barbecue next week. There's a barbecue next
Maybe I've sent something into it.
What's that?
Well,
Yeah, there's Saturday.
Number 12.
Buford, that's period, Buford for Saturday.
Yeah, they're
That's
there.
it. Elgin's got the barbecue November 12th, and Buford's is this Saturday, the 6th. 6th, this Saturday for Buford's barbecue.
Y'all's is all takeout, Harry?
Yeah, it's all good. No down in this year.
Okay.
Crawford, basically.
time to barbecue, time to have.
So it's all together.
Any other comments? You know that, yes, sir.
Wanted everybody to hear me if they can. Want to thank everybody that participated in Dad's funeral. It was completely mind-blowing for my mom, my brother Greg, that is not part of the fire service. So it was just really emotional. It really showed the brotherhood of how we are with each other and our families. Thanks everybody who participated in that for Dad. Thank you.
Did they send any email or anything about Daryl? Did I see that right, Daryl P. got killed in a,
That on MP, yeah, it got killed, 1-1.
is he not in our,
He had been inactive.
huh?
He had not responded in a long time, but they inactivated him last
Wayne
month.
Biden, son.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I didn't
other comments? Any motion to adjourn?
Make a motion again.
Perry, you missed your chance. All right, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank y'all. We'll close it down. That was Don Thunderbird, that was Chief's speaking. Chief's speaking.